The Cubs won 14-1 on Sunday, back-to-back sweeps, an 8-1 road trip. And in those 9 games, over 10 runs scored per game. So we could sit here and we could talk about the offense, but honestly, the offense has become so good, it's almost boring to talk about the offense. 14-1. So what do I want to do? I want to talk about why Jordan Wicks was so good in his return from a very long IL stint. And he did it without striking out a batter, without walking a batter. And I think what we're seeing here is an evolution of Jordan Wicks trying to figure out kind of who he is as a pitcher, because we're going to look at this and compare it to a game in September of last year when he first became a rookie and he first came out on the scene with the Cubs and he was doing really well. He was turning a lot of heads. And then a game in April this year when he did have a few starts under his belt, there was a different Jordan Wicks that we saw between those 2 games, and then, of course, the one that we had today. So I want to base it all around today's game. So very first thing I want to show you is in 2024, Jordan Wicks is throwing the fastball, the four-seam fastball, at a crazy high rate compared to 2023. What you're looking at is here on StatCast, and as you can see, 46% of the time with the four-seamer. In 2023, only 28% of the time, 28.5 to be exact. Now, the changeup was the one that he threw the most last year. Not much of a drop-off with that, 29.7 down to 26.2. But the sinker is the other major drop-off. Almost 20% of the time he was throwing it last year, now only 13.1% here in 2024. The cutter has basically become non-existent as a pitch, and then the curveball and slider are pretty much interchangeable there. But you can see as well that he gained a mile on the fastball, really almost a full mile on the fastball in the offseason. And then with Shota Imanaga on the team, and you even saw Carlos Pena before the game today compare Jordan Wicks to Shota Imanaga. He said if he pitches like Shota, he's going to have success. I kind of want to go on the contrary of that one and say, yes, to an extent, the fastball up and the changeup down, yes, but while Shota can get some major chase with that, Jordan Wicks isn't the same kind of rising fastball. It's got a little bit of a rise to it, as we'll see in today's game and some of the highlights, but I think what you need to see is Jordan being a little bit more competitive around the zone with that fastball. And I think that's what we were really seeing when we first saw Jordan Wicks in the beginning of April here in 2024. As we look at it, so let's compare it again. Today's game on the right, on the left is April 12th against the Seattle Mariners. And what we're seeing here, double the number of fastballs in that one on April 12th. Now, that game, he had about 94 pitches, if I'm correct. On the right here today against the Nationals, only 69 pitches, so you have to keep that into account. But the number of changeups is almost the same, even though he threw almost 20, 30 more pitches in that first game. And then the sinkers, he doubled the number of sinkers, even though he has less pitches in today's game. So this is when I watched that Seattle Mariners game, I really felt like Jordan Wicks was chasing the strikeout. I felt like he was really relying on chase, which he gets a lot of. If we look at his StatCast here, he is one of the top in 2023 and 2024 in getting chased because of that changeup and because of that high fastball. But as you can see, the chart was all over the place on April 12th. He was trying to get major chase on that high fastball. Some of those pitches that you can see, most of the four-seam fastball was at the top of the zone or higher, whereas you see on the right-hand side, today's game, it was really kind of middle to top of zone, and then every once in a while he would get chase on that as we go over to the pitches that were chased. You can see, yes, on the left-hand side, a lot of chase, but also a lot of pitches that were wasted. There's probably about 7 or 8 fastballs there at the top of the zone that were just wasted, whereas today there was really only one high fastball waste there, and that's why you saw him being so efficient with these pitches today. As we start to watch some of the highlights, guys were swinging through or fouling off this fastball a lot like Shota Imanaga. The difference is Jordan Wicks didn't have to throw it at the top of the zone or above. He, like Shota, can get away with that fastball middle to upper part of the zone if he executes the other pitches, the off-speed, lower in the zone, whereas going back to the chart here, we see on April 12th, he was relying a lot, once again, not only on chase on the fastball up high, but on the changeup in green down low. Look at all the chase on that changeup, which is great to see, but again, along with a ton of chase, we also seen a ton of waste, a lot of pitches being spat on in this April 12th game against the Mariners, whereas over here, yeah, there were some changeups that weren't swung at, but a lot of them were around the zone and especially just a little bit off the plate. And now as we watch the highlights with the changeup, a lot of those changeups were rolled over. They were little choppers. They were swings and misses. They were foul balls. A lot of these pitches here with the changeup were set up very well because it wasn't extreme high with the fastball and extreme low with the changeup. It was kind of met in the middle. It was like they were going lane by lane, and then at the end they would change directions based on whether it was the fastball or the changeup. And for that reason, I think that Jordan Wicks was really successful today, really efficient today. And now let's compare this to a game last year. Once again, a lot more pitches on the left-hand side. This was in September against the Rockies. He ended up throwing 6 innings, only allowed 1 run. As you can see, with the majority of the extra pitches, they were used with the sinker. Same amount of changeups, about the same amount of four-seam fastballs, a little bit more on the cutter and the curveball, and the slider's about the same, but the sinker, only 10 on the right-hand side, 30 on the left-hand side. And you can see the reason for that is because he's really pounding the low part of the zone with the sinker rather than trying to get that swing and miss and that chase with the high fastball. A few high fastballs there on the left-hand side. Maybe he's trying to get about, 5 of swings that are above the zone where he's trying to get maybe a swing and miss or trying to get a pop out. But most of the fastball usage is the sinker down in the lower part of the zone. Is you can probably assume most of these were right-handed batters as well, low and away. Whereas on the right-hand side, a few sinkers and a lot more four-seam fastballs, middle to upper part of the zone, which is probably why you saw a lot of weak contact today. You saw a lot of quick at bats, you saw a lot of pop-ups, you saw a lot of that happening. And then as we look at the swings on the left-hand side versus the right-hand side, you can see that he's relying mainly on chase for the changeup. All of the ones on the left-hand side, aside for a few, I believe those are curveballs in blue and green, most of that is the chase. Only one fastball out of the zone all day that was a four-seamer was swung at, whereas today he's got about 4, and a lot of them, again, upper part of the zone. So you're kind of seeing this blending of this pitcher from last year who was really reliant on the changeup and the low sinker, trying to get some weak contact and ground balls, where today he sees that, hey, I can learn from Shota, I can learn from someone like that, but I don't have to be exactly like him. I can still rely on my sinker. I can still throw the occasional slider, occasional curveball, and have some success. But also, I don't need to strike out a bunch of guys to be able to be successful. I can just locate my fastball very well. We're right in the middle of that pitch trajectory. The batter doesn't know, is it a fastball or is it a changeup? And they can get weak contact rather than needing swings and misses. I think this is the evolution that you're seeing from Jordan Wicks. The one thing I will say is that he got into trouble in the second inning. Why did he have a tough time in the second inning? Well, you can see this leadoff hit to James Wood right down the middle. Fastball right down the middle there. Now, I said that he was getting away with some fastballs down the middle, but that was just below the middle of the zone there at 91, where if he had just missed maybe a little bit above the middle of the zone, might have been a foul ball, might have been a pop-up, might have been a weak ground ball. You never know, but it seems like kind of he and Shota have that same type of fastball that if you miss a little bit below the middle of the zone, it's almost like that feeds into a lot of the batter's swings. But then he throws his only curveball of the game here to Yepes, and it gets served down the left field line. Jordan Wicks is not throwing that curveball much at all, but definitely not on 2 strikes. And I think that was where he got a little bit in trouble here, was trying to go away from his strength on that pitch. Now, I'm no pitching coach, I'm no pitching expert, but that's the only curveball that you saw. And when you're trying to put away a batter with 2 strikes, you're typically not throwing a pitch that you only throw 2 to 3% of the time. And then here, another pitch that he gets away with, CJ Abrams misses his spot majorly. You can see that Amaya is trying to set up, and he misses a little bit up way inside and gets a ton of the plate. Wicks is really lucky that didn't go for a 3-run home run. Instead, it goes foul. So, hey, you got to be good. You also have to be a little bit lucky too. But then this is just, speaking of luck, a little changeup off the plate, well-executed pitch, and it goes for an infield single. Now, once again, more luck in this inning, you could have seen this go a lot worse, but Ruiz gets a changeup way up in the zone. That's the type of pitch that you want down in the dirt. You want it down on the lower third part of the zone. Instead, it is hung, and you get a great diving play, a double play here from Paredes, turned very well, and then of course, later in the inning, another fastball that gets way too much to the plate, and he gets lucky. Happ tracks it down. This was the only inning that you really saw consistent misses from Jordan Wicks, and for him to get away with only 1 run was a very big turning point in this game today. What did you see? Let me know down in the comments. I want to know. This was a fun game. Cubs, you're 1 game away. I'm recording this as the Braves have yet to play today. The Braves lose today, I am all in. It's a playoff run here in September. But if they don't, then I'm still going to be I need to see that 3-game mark. I need to see us behind 3 games to really feel like with 25 left to play, there's a real shot. So Braves are playing well. Padres, Diamondbacks are all playing well, but we'll see. Let me know also what you think of that in the comments. Are they back in the race, or do you need to see a little bit more from the Cubs?